introduction to business analysis. So, like I said earlier, we are here to learn about what business analysis is all about, how we use the skills of business analysis to enhance a business, to find um, customer needs, our client needs, to be able to find solutions to problem, right? And we have a lot of things that are required for business analysis to do. Basically, one word for them is they are problem solvers, right? And to give a short insight with a short story about how business analysis work with a customer or a client or a stakeholder. So imagine you run a restaurant and um, for the first couple of months you have good sales. Moving forward, something happened. Let's say after coronavirus, right? You find it difficult to keep making sales the way you used to, right? And you've tried everything within your reach to um, push the sales to how it used to be, but everything comes to avail. Um, Moving forward, you get to learn that somebody that can help you solve this problem is a business analysis, right? And you try to go online, probably reach out to anybody to help you connect to a business analysis, and you are able to connect with a business analysis. The first thing the business analysis will do is to ask questions to understand the entire scope of your restaurant, how it's being run, how you sell to your customers, how your customer pay you, what else, how do you engage your customers, and so on and so forth, right? So the business analysis will be responsible for gathering data that he or she can use to find solution to the potential problems at hand, right? So what the business analysis will do is the business analysis will go back and try to work with the data he or she has gathered and learn from the data, right? Process the data and to be able to draw a conclusion at the end of the day, only just to boost sales for that client and customer, and both of them goes home happy because at the end of the day customer also pays the business analysis. And in some cases, right, so companies hire business analysis to help solve their product problems, to help improve their products, and to help forecast and predict what next they should be looking at, right? In terms of basically still improving the product. And business analysis is not only limited to being hired as a company or working for a client. You can also be a self-employer, right? And you might have a business you're running, and having a depth knowledge of how business analysis works would really, really help you achieve great success in whatever you're building or trying to sell to customers. So, moving forward to our next slide, we are going to talk about the objective of business analysis. Are you guys with me? Please. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So we are going to talk about. All right. Thank you. And I believe you understood the illustration I just gave about business analysis, right? All right. Cool. So we are going to talk about the objective of a business analysis. We are going to understand the role and importance of business analysis in a business. We are also going to learn the basic concept of terminologies used in business analysis, which is um, stakeholders, requirements, deliverables, product or project, and a scope of a business. And we also get to know about the tools used by business analysis. So before I proceed, I'm going to give a little and brief introduction about myself. My name is Olanrewaju Daniel, also known as Dan Golding, right? And I am a software engineer. I build apps and websites. Okay, so the next question will be like, then why are you teaching business analysis, right? So the thing is, I love the business side of things because being at the other side of the engineering part looks one-sided to me, and I am fascinated on how business is being run because before a project is being brought down to the engineering team, it must have gone through several processes through the business analyst, right? Before the project gets down to the development team. And I am going to explain the flow of all this. Please get your notes and jota ready. So, on the other hand, I'm quite curious to understand the full, in depth of how products work, not just only the code side. So that is how I'm able to find it to the business analysis space, and it has been fun, and it has been interesting so far, and it has really, really made me understand so much about tech life cycle, or let me just say software life cycle, right? So understanding the role and importance of business analysis. Um, Business analysis, they work closely with stakeholders to understand and identify business needs and change, right? Or challenge. They identify what the organization aims to achieve and the problems to seek to solve them. Yeah, and I feel I need to talk about these terminologies because trying to explain some concepts and using the terminologies you guys are not familiar with would build that root of understanding in you. So I am going to skip to this number two, and then I'm going to come back to the first objective. Then it's going to be easy for you to understand what I'm trying to say. So, we should quickly talk about the basic concepts and terminologies used in business analysis. It is very important. You really need to understand this concept and these terminologies because they are widely used across business analysis field. So, the first one, which is stakeholders. Stakeholders, they are individuals, groups, or organizations that have an interest in or are also can affect a project outcome, right? So to simply put this in a simple way, right? When I give an illustration about the restaurant owner trying to improve his business, we can also identify that customer as a stakeholder, right? So what are the needs of this customer? So this customer wants to increase sales, and it is the responsibility of a business analysis to um reprocess, gather data, reprocess the data, and draw a conclusion that is going to help increase the sale of the restaurant owner, right? So that is that for a stakeholder. And we have two types of stakeholders. We have the internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. So internal stakeholders, they can be employees, managers, and executive within the organization. So if I'm going to give you an example of this, so let us take Coca-Cola company for instance, right? It's a worldwide organization, right? So who are the people that make decisions regarding to what the product needs or what needs to be built around the product, right? So they are known as internal stakeholders, which they can be employees, managers, and executive, right, within the organization. And on the other hand, External stakeholders, they can be customers like the restaurant owners story I shared earlier, suppliers, investors, and normal regular bodies, right? So, um, if we are going to look into their roles, right? The stakeholders' roles in business analysis. What is their roles in business analysis? They are very crucial for understanding the requirements and ensuring that the project aligns with what they need. So, back to my story. I, as a restaurant owner, I want to increase my sale, right? So, stakeholder also engage and manage, key project success, which involves continuous communication and involvement throughout the project lifecycle. It is very important that the stakeholder communicates his or her needs to the business analyst, right? Like I mentioned, a business analyst needs data to refine and draw conclusions on, and all these are what we're going to look into and work on as we proceed in the course. And what are the requirements, right? So the requirements are statement of needs or conditions that a particular project must meet or possess, right? They describe the capabilities and conditions necessary for success of a project. So it is very, very important that a stakeholder engage constantly, communicate constantly to a business analyst, so the business analysis rather can gather enough data to help facilitate the growth of the business, which is to increase sales. All right, so to check if you guys are still with me now, um I just mentioned requirement, right? Okay, so I'm going to touch it again, right? They are actually functions of a system. So if I'm going to connect these requirements to these stakeholders, right? So the connectivity between them is, I, as a restaurant owner, I need to increase sales, and you, as a business analyst, it is your job to gather data to help facilitate growth, to increase sales in this business of mine, right? So what do you do with the data you've already gathered, right? So with the data you've gathered, you want to refine it and draw conclusion out of it. So basically, requirements are statements of needs or condition that are particular to a project, right? Like I mentioned earlier. So they actually describe the capabilities and the condition necessary for the success of a project. So through the um conclusion you've drawn from the data you've gathered from the stakeholders, which is I, the restaurant owner, from the onset, you can convert it to requirements to meet a specific project or outcome rather. So, all right, so moving forward to deliverables. So, deliverables are tangible or intangible outputs produced as a result of project activities. These are items that a project is supposed to deliver to its stakeholders. So, you, as a business analysis, after you've gathered your data from the stakeholders, which is me in this context here, you've been able to draw your conclusion and also elicit requirements that can help foster the growth of the business. So you can then communicate on the timeline at which you're going to deliver a specific outcome, right? So this is basically known as the deliverables, right? So from the top again, stakeholders I reach out to business analysis. Business analysis gathers data to refine and draw conclusion, which can also be known as requirements, to help boost sales, right? And you as the business analyst need to communicate how long it's going to take you to drop the results of whatever it is or whatever the outcome may be, right? So types of deliverables, we have project deliverables and process deliverables. Item deliverables are actually directly related to the project objective, e.g., the report, the documentation, and the final product, right? So, you as the business analysis again. So, I think I'm going to short it to BA. BA is a short term for business analysis, right? So, now speaking about project deliverables, you already now you have requirements you want to work on. You need to be able to document the process at which you are able to arrive to the final product, right? So this process needs to be documented and needs to be shown to the stakeholders as reports. So it is very, very important that the stakeholder needs to get involved and to be on the same page whilst you are building or working on this project, right? So moving on to process deliverables, they are actually items that are necessary for managing the project itself, right? For instance, the project plan and the meeting schedules, right? So you as a business analysis, you are responsible for managing the project from the plant, right? You know, you get to reach out to user experience, to product designers, to um, development team, right? And you know, whichever tasks or skills are involved in building a team to deliver a particular product, right? So, why is the role deliverables important in business analysis, right? So, it helps to define and document deliverables to ensure they meet the project requirements and stakeholders' expectation. Like I mentioned earlier, it also gives clear identification of deliverables that helps in tracking progress and measuring success. Period. So that's all about deliverables. So moving forward to product and project, I'm going to start with product. Product is actually an item or service created through a project to deliver to a customer or end user. For instance, which product can I use? Which product just came out that blew everywhere? Okay, let's use WhatsApp for instance, right? So before WhatsApp came to you guys as the customer end users, rather, before WhatsApp gets to your hand, it has passed through business analysts. They've been able to gather requirements to build the WhatsApp you are using now, right? So WhatsApp as a product is an item, rather, yes, it's an item that is created through a project to be delivered to a customer or end users, which is you and I, right? So it can be physical item, it can be a software, and it can also be a service. Yeah, so moving to projects, because sometimes they are often confusion between product and project. So that's why it's necessary to clear out the differences between product and project, and sometimes it can be interchanged or used together. So Project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service, right? So as a result, projects have specific objectives, start and end date, and constraints such as time, cost, and resources. So you as a business analysis building a project for the stakeholder, right? It's actually a process to create a unique product. So product is the end result of a project. Project is an ongoing product that is that undertakes, you know, development process to create a unique project or service as a result. And like I mentioned, you also want to consider that a project must have a specific objective. So what is the specific objective of WhatsApp? WhatsApp is used to chat, right? It is very, very clear, and that is all. So now, how long will it take you to build a product like WhatsApp, right? So that is where you want to consider a start and a end date, and you must also consider the time that will be used in building this project, the cost and resources. They are very important. So I'm going to briefly talk about the roles of project and product in business analysis, right? So basically, business analysis work on projects to develop a product that meets specific needs, period, like I mentioned. And they also ensure that the project remains aligned with its goals and delivers the intended product efficiently. So moving on to the last part here, I really want to make this class short because I want to, it's actually an introductory part, and I want to show you guys what we'll be working on to create curiosity and excitement to make you understand that we are going to be doing something huge in this program. And at the end of the day, you can call, or at the end of the program, you can call yourself a business analysis. But like I mentioned earlier, we have a constraint time against us, so we really need to manage our time effectively, right? So, but moving forward outside the boot camp, you can also build to become a professional in the field. So there's no limit to learning. So now we are moving on to scope, right? The terminologies of scope used in business analysis. So scope refers to the boundaries and extent of what a project will deliver. It includes all work required to complete the project successfully and achieve its objectives. So I don't know if I should come again, right? So basically, scope is just identifying the boundaries and extent at which a project will take to be delivered to your stakeholder, right? And it includes all the work that are required to ensure a complete project successfully, and to also ensure that it's able to achieve its specific objectives, right? So we are going to look into types of scope briefly, and we have two types of scope. We have project scope and product scope. Product scope defines the features and functions of product being developed. And I'm going to give you an example of a product scope. So using WhatsApp, right? So what are the features and the functionalities you are currently using on your WhatsApp? So you know it, right? You can make a voice note, you can have a video call, you can send and receive chats and post status, so on and so forth. So before this product WhatsApp gets to our hand, business analysis have gone to gather their data to identify what would make us love WhatsApp, right? Which are those basic functionalities, right? So moving on to the project scope types of scope rather, it defines the work that needs to be done to deliver the project with specific features and functions, right? So, and if we're going to look into the roles of scope and why it is important in business analysis field, it helps to manage the project scope, rather to ensure that all necessary tasks are completed while avoiding, you scope script, right? That is uncontrolled changes or continuous growth in project scope. So I'm going to um, simplify this for you to understand um, this particular concept I just explained. And it is very, very, very important you know this, because without knowing this as a business analysis, or a product owner or a project manager, because project manager, business analysis, and product owner, most times they work hand in hand together. But as we move forward, right, so I'm going to give more insight on other aspect of tech skills that also work hand in hand with business analysis, right? So I'm going to come again about the roles of scope in a business analysis, right? So business analysis helps to define and manage the project scope to ensure that all necessary tasks are completed while avoiding scope creep. And if I'm going to expand what scope creep means, it means the uncontrolled changes or continuous growth in project scope. So to give a quick illustration about this, so let's imagine when Facebook just came out. I We all agree that Facebook don't have all the features it has now compared to when it started. So the idea here is, you as a business analyst, you must ensure a constraint, right? So a timeline for a product that is a minimum viable product, we also call that MVP, to be out for users to use, so you can also further gather data that you can refine, learn from, and to improve what has been built. So what I'm trying to say here is, the Facebook we use now is different from the Facebook that just came out then, and it is very important that the business analysis is able to define a deliverables deadline, right? That is scope in another word, or in this context we are actually talking about. So the business analysis has been able to define a scope at which the project should be out to the customers or end users, just like you and I, because without that they will just keep building and the project may never surface to the hand of the end users. And I have worked with quite a numbers of companies that have fallen into this trap. That is why I am emphasizing on how this scope works, because you really want to have a start and a dead rather sorry a end date of a project which you can push out to the end users, because it is very, very important you gather data, and that is also the only way you can gather real data. So gathering um, um, other data like from survey and interviews, right, they are not as real as when your product is on the hand of your users, right? That's only when you can gather a real life data that you can now further refine, because we need to expand Facebook. So Facebook that came out that year needs to be the Facebook we know now, right? So for us to constantly improve Facebook, we also need to constantly gather data from the end users, which is the customer like you and I, right? So like I mentioned, Scope is very important, so things don't get out of hand, because we can get into the loophole or trap of let us add these features, right? Before you know it, 6 months has passed by and you are not still out with the product. And at the end of adding that features, you're still going to be like, let's add another feature and let's make sure that we have as much features. So when the product is outside, the user will have no choice to rush our product because we've already killed it with enough features. Whereas on the other hand, you never knew if nobody would be interested in the idea of what you are building in the first place, right? So that is why it's very important that from the small data you've been able to gather, right, from the stakeholders and from other resources or other external sources rather, it is important that you are able to build something minimal to gather real data to further improve and enhance the service or product. So I think I've been able to explain the terminologies used in business analysis so far. And so, with this knowledge so far, moving forward and explaining any concept, right, should be easy for you to follow along and catch up onto. So, in summary, in summary, and in summary, it is actually it is actually this fundamental concept, right, and terminologies, because they are essential for everyone to be involved in the business analysis part or journey, right? So stakeholders drives the requirement, which defines what needs to be delivered, right? So I am going to move to understanding the role and importance of business analysis. And I believe with explaining the concepts and terminologies used by business analysis, by now you must have some insight of what the roles and business analysis is all about. Yeah, water break, please. All right, so briefly, we are going to look into the roles and importance of business analysis. Business analysis work closely with the stakeholders, which I've explained earlier, to understand the underlying business needs and challenges. They identify what the organization aims to achieve and the problems it seeks to solve. Period. Another role for of a business analyst is defining requirements. The first one was identifying business needs. So now the second one now is defining requirements. So BA gathers and documents detailed requirements for business solutions. This involves working with stakeholders to elicit, analyze, validate, and communicate these requirements to ensure they meet the business objectives. So, the third role of a business analysis is to facilitate communication, right? Because a business analyst acts as a bridge between stakeholders and the development team. A business analyst dey ensure a clear communication, right? Because they need or they are the ones that translate business needs into technical specifications and ensure both parties understand each other's requirements and constraints. So now I am going to explain what and how this role of facilitating communication between stakeholders and development team, right? So how this works is, I as a restaurant owner, I've explained my problem to a business analyst, and the business analyst has gathered those data and are denoted that after corona, majority of the business has moved to the internet, right? So now it is the job of the business analyst to find a way to solve a problem based on the solutions he or she has at hand. So, and what the business analyst have been able to come up with or conclude is, if this I, the restaurant owner, if I'm able to find a way to push my business to an online space, like, let me give an example, like Jumai Food, right? Most of you that stay in Lagos, right, must know about Jumai Food or Chowtech, right? So those are companies that deliver food to your doorstep. So you as a business analyst, you've been able to gather your data and draw conclusion that, okay, providing solutions that make or can make my business to give my customer what they need. So what does my customer need since or after this pandemic, which is coronavirus? Now that my or everything, every business, most of business has moved to the internet. So it has been so easy for logistic, right, to drive. That is, to people now find it so interesting, so demanding, to want whatever they order to be in their doorstep, right? So now I've been able to draw conclusion that, okay, fine, customers or these end users of my restaurant would actually prefer if I can provide my food to their doorstep. So now, how do I make this happen? How do I make how do you as a business analyst, how do you help me sell my jollof rice, fried rice and chicken? How do I get it to my customer doorsteps? So that is where you now start looking into the requirement to build a software used by the likes of Jumai Foods to deliver food to doorstep. That is Chicken Public Food, right? And Chowdeck, and so on and so forth in that industry. So it is your responsibility to gather requirements to achieve what is needed, to deliver those food. And you also communicate the deliverables, that the solution and an outcome will be provided. And at the end of the day, you should also be able to give a scope of the general software. So now, expanding on, you know communicating, being or serving as the bridge between the stakeholder and the development team. Now I know, as a business analyst, right, I've been able to draw conclusion to help drive my business rather. So in this case, you guys are the business analyst, I am the restaurant. I just keep mixing it, but I believe you guys are following what I'm saying. You get what I'm trying to say here. So moving forward, right, about facilitating communication between and or serving as a bridge between stakeholders and development team. Yeah, so I said I've been able to find solution, and the solution is to build a software to help deliver food to the doorsteps of the end users, right? So I need to build a mobile app, then I communicate to the stakeholders. You are going to communicate to me that I need to build a mobile app, and on the mobile app, user should be able to sign up on the mobile app, that is putting their details on the mobile app. That is first requirement. So the second requirement is, user should be able to select the food and the items that they want to be delivered to their doorstep. That is the second key and major requirement. And thirdly, a user should be able to make payment to what they ordered, and that is the last requirement. But additionally, right, so you might want to start talking about how to track the deliverables or the order, from the dispatch, how the order has been dispatched and how long it's going to take to the end user. So that can be like additional features, just like I mentioned about, or just how I explain how scope works. So it is very, very important that you want to be able to build something minimal. You want to have a scope around what you are building to push something out there. So the end users can test, so you can further gather data to improve and enhance the product you guys are building or going to build for me. So now you've gathered the requirement, which is user must be able to sign up, right, to create an account, to choose the food they want to be delivered, and to also make payment. So it is your job to gather a development team. So who are required in this development team? So who are responsible? What skills do we need to be able to build this mobile app or this software or this website to help solve this problem, to help solve my problem, right? So you as the business analyst, you must know who you need to employ. You must know how to gather and work with a team to start a project and to deliver a product at the end of the day. So you must know that first off, you need a UX designer. So I'm going to briefly talk about tech skills do you need in your team, right? So then you should know that you need a UX designer, you need a product designer that can translate the user experience that is being provided from the UX designer, right? Sometimes we can have both UI UX designer. So I'm going to explain the concept of UI UX designer briefly. So from UI UX designer, they are going to design how the mobile app layout is going to look like, right? So the layout at which you chat with, the send buttons, they were actually designed, all those stuffs you interact with on your mobile phone or your system, that were actually designed by designers before they are being translated to code, before they get to your hand for you. So from the design stage, it then now gets to the software development team, which can involve the front end development team and back end development team, which are responsible for server, and down to QA testers, which ensures that the projects work effectively and efficiently before it's being delivered to the end users. So these are things you need to know as a business analyst to build a software product or to build any kind of solutions that is required to solve a particular stakeholder, client, or business problem. So I've been able to touch some roles, right, of business analysis, right? So and I'm going to touch some importance of business analysis, and probably I might give you guys an assignment to go and to get me the importance of business analysis, right? So important basically is they enhance project success rate. They are also responsible for optimizing business processes, right? So they ensure stakeholder satisfaction, and they also facilitate informed decision making. So all these, I'm going to send this in the group chat, so you guys are going to write about them and read about them before the next class, which I'm going to give more explanation about them, right? So we are going to discuss about the tools you'll be using as a business analyst, and the tools we are going to use is called Confluence or Jira. We all know that the university is a tech university built for tech enthusiasts to enhance and learn tech skills. So I am going to go to Getivacity here now, and um, Getivacity also have a learning platform whereby students and instructors can can learn to have a smooth experience, right? So we are going to use Gateversity as a case study. We are going to go out there to gather data, and we can also gather data from competitors such as Coursera, Udemy, and Schools and so on and so forth that have LMS platform, which is LMS platform are actually learning management system that is used to learn, um, basically for educational purposes.